Ahoy! And welcome to the Boating Hour with Captain Rick. The Boating Hour brings you the latest and greatest essential information about everything that sails, floats, or motors upon the high seas of Southern California. From landlubbers to old salts, there'll be something for everyone. So climb aboard and get ready to sail with Captain Rick.
Ahoy out there, and welcome to the Boating Hour. I'm Captain Rick, and I want to thank you for joining us here on AM 870. We're here every Saturday at 4 p.m., and please be sure to visit us on the web at theboatinghour.com, and now on Instagram and Facebook. And guess what? We've got a Rumble presence as well. You can see Captain Rick and co-host the Coastie Teddy Bear who protects children when they sleep at night. We're on Rumble. Go check us out. Thanks to our sponsor for our show today. For a healthy gut, the best probiotic on the market, Livia One Probiotics, natural, organic, and allergen-free. Well, we have had some wonderful guests. And if you tuned in for the whole month of May, we promoted the Coast Guard Auxiliary, the active duty, but we left out the reserve. So at Fleet Week and Armed Service Parade, I talked all about the Coast Guard. So today, I have some wonderful guests for you today. And we're going to talk a little bit about the function going on today at the base, promoting the active duty, but the Coast Guard reservists as well. So Rich and Tom, I want to thank you for joining me. Rich, of course, is active duty public affairs. Rich, thanks for joining Captain Rick.
Well, thank you. I'm really glad to be here.
It's exciting. And we have Tom Lasser, who was on the show when we were promoting the Coasties, and we were promoting the Armed Service Parade in Fleet Week the whole month of May. Tom, thanks for joining Captain Rick on the Boating Hour once again.
Pleasure to be here. I enjoyed the experience, and we're having a great time in San Pedro today.
Okay, that's real exciting. Now, you retired as a lieutenant colonel with the Army, is that correct?
Yes, I'm a retired soldier, Vietnam veteran, Army helicopter pilot by trade. I spent 2 tours of Vietnam, and afterwards I transferred into the National Guard full-time here in California, and my last military assignment was as the commander of Los Alamitos Army Airfield in Orange County about 15 years ago.
Wow, you're so instrumental and active in promoting the vets and in all the things that go on. That's really exciting. You're an inspiration to me. But you're a helicopter pilot, so if I want to cover some race regattas out there in the ocean, can you grab a helicopter and we'll do some photography?
I haven't flown in 15, 20 years. You'd be scared if I tried to fly helicopter right about now, so we'll probably have to go with the drone.
All right, we'll go with the drone. I'm afraid of losing the drone in the ocean. You know, that's been done quite a bit. People go out and they cover regattas. They're on the chase boat, and then they're moving around. So sometimes they've run out of battery, and there's funny stories about drones. Now, of course, you link in and you can have live updates, and you could lose your drone, but you save the footage. So that's in the far future for Captain Rick on the Boating Hour covering race regattas. Rich, let's go to you. First of all, your public affairs with active duty Coast Guard. What's that like? And tell me your story. How did you get involved in the Coast Guard, and what's it like being a public affairs for active duty?
Oh, wow. Well, where to start? Well, I'm kind of one of the old but new coasties.
Okay.
So, yes, as a PA3. But yes, I decided to join the Coast Guard and go into public affairs because those were 2 things that I'm really am driven about or passionate about. So I thought, well, opportunities in the civilian workforce are being limited, and I'm getting closed doors, but the Coast Guard was looking very good. So I actually joined in March of 2022, sorry, and then went to public affairs school right away, and then that was it. But I should point out that I joined the reserve, actually. So I have some experience on the reserve side, and then it was this year that I crossed over to active duty.
Oh, okay.
And so I have 4-year orders for active duty in public affairs, and I'm stationed at I'm under District 11 Public Affairs, but we cover everything in our area of the actual station LA Long Beach and base LA Long Beach. and Sector LA Long Beach, because we cover what's in our AOR, or area of response and area of responsibility, one of those. So that's me in a nutshell. I love public affairs. I've always been in video and in photography, and it was a great chance to use what I really like to do and apply that to serving in the Coast Guard, which is something I've always wanted to do. And sometimes I take a moment sometimes to realize, wait a minute, I'm actually doing this. It's incredible. So to be put beside Colonel Lasser and other great service members is quite an honor. It's again such a surreal thing, but it's something I'm very humbled to do. Yes,
that is exciting. And you got 4 kids, married with 4 kids, for little munchkins.
Yes, I do. I do. I call my youngest one my little munchkin, and she always is saying, "What's a little munchkin?" But yes, and so I always explain. But that's what's also great is that they are very supportive. Because who would say sure, like to somebody who will just drop everything and join the military and be ready to move at any time, or go with all the changes. So I try to always support my wife in every way and make sure my little ones are doing well and have their needs fulfilled too and have their daddy time.
Well, that's exciting.
And that's very important. And I didn't push it at all, but it's such an influence on my boys because my oldest, I call him my PA5 because he takes pictures with me sometimes when I'm on, out on assignment sometimes. And then my second boy, he's actually ready to join at 14, the Coast Guard Auxiliary. So you might have another recruit on you.
Well, that's exciting. We'd love to have him. And I do feature the Coast Guard Auxiliary and the Coasties, and I'm getting a few emails after Fleet Week to feature the Navy a little bit more because that's boating. Those are some big boats. So Tom, let's talk about today's event. It's an all-day Saturday at LA Long Beach, not open to the public, but a big event. It's promoting the reserve. Is that what the event is all about today?
The event today was hosted by the Department of Defense Employer Support of the Guard and Reserve. It's an organization under the Assistant Secretary of Defense that was formed in the early 70s when the draft went away. Somebody realized that if we're going to go to an all-citizen soldier support group, we needed help from employers to understand where their employee was going. And so ESGR was formed, and it's unofficially the liaison between the citizen soldier and their employer. But it's a Department of Defense agency that seeks to promote a culture in which all American employers support and value the military service of their employees. And they do that by recognizing and thanking employers, and that's what we did today. We invited 41 employers of local Coast Guard reservists onto the base to see what their employee does as a Coast Guard reservist. And we also inform employers about the Uniformed Services Employment and Reemployment Act, which means that if your employee goes on active duty, they have job rights when they come back. And we get in between employers and the citizen soldiers if there's a dispute about rules, regulations, which rarely happens because employers are very patriotic, and we acknowledge them. And we had an award ceremony at lunch today for those employers. But this event today was called a boss lift. Sometimes we do it with the Air Force or the Navy. In December, we did it with a National Guard Black Hawk unit at Los Alamitos Army Airfield, had briefings, flew the employers around. In April, we were at March Reserve Base, and the employers of those Air National Guard members got a tour and a briefing of the base. The MQ-9 Predator drones that are out there got a flight in the C-130. This time, we worked on the Coast Guard Reserve And part of the reason is that the Coast Guard Reserve is kind of a hidden military service. Yes, they're into boating safety and port security, and a lot of your listeners are familiar with the Coast Guard, but they're kind of like a silent service. People don't know they're out there. And this gave a chance to have a lot of people come on the Coast Guard base at Terminal Island and see the Coast Guard, get on ships. We started off at 8 o'clock when the Coast Guard had their initial morning formation, when they observed colors, and there were some promotions involved. And a lot of civilians don't get to see military formations and how the military rewards their members. Then had some refreshments, and then we had the obligatory speakers that came up. Captain Ryan Manning, the captain of the port, briefed on his mission. We had the Master Chief brief. I gave a presentation about what ESGR is, and then the Coast Guard gave an overview of what they do at Terminal Island. Then we went to see some displays, some static exhibits of Coast Guard equipment. We had a search and rescue demonstration by a Coast Guard helicopter, a weapons display from the port security unit, a tactical operations display, a display of a 32-foot boat. We had lunch, and lunch provided by ESGR. And we had an award ceremony for all those employees that went out of their way to support their reservists. And then one of the highlights, probably the highlight, they went to the boat basin for an underway tour of the harbor on the Coast Guard cutter Robert Ward. And then we finished up around an hour ago, acknowledging everybody and let everybody go home. And it was a spectacular day. And I think not only did it bring awareness from the employers to what their citizen soldier employees do, it brought visibility to the Coast Guard, visibility to the base, and might even help the recruiting in some regards because the Coast Guard was so professional in hosting us, and you can't tell the difference between a Coast Guard reservist and an active duty coastie. They're so tightly wound together in supporting each other. But Coast Guard base Terminal Island, San Pedro, is a gem here in Southern California. And I got to say, it was a highly successful mission for the employer support of the Guard Reserve and the Coast Guard Reserve.
That is exciting. Is this an opportunity for reservists to find employers, or are these employers, looking to just support? I mean, if you're in the reserve, are you looking at some of the presentations? Because I'm seeing some of the, Knott's Berry Farm and San Diego Fire Rescue and the Fire Department, YMCA of San Diego, all kinds of big organizations on the list.
Yeah, we had one fella from Los Angeles City. I can't remember. He was a supervisor of a big agency for the city of Los Angeles, and he made a comment that he looks to hiring National Guard and reservists because they're good employees. They show up on time. They have self-discipline. ESGR is not actually an employment agency, but there were business cards being shared with folks as far as jobs and positions and stuff like that. That's a sidelight of what ESGR does. But thanks for bringing up that point, because I'm sure somebody might have got a job or two out of this engagement with everybody. But the 41 employers we had were all supervisors, foremen, executives that had reservists working for them, and they were invited by their reservist employee to come out and see what they do. And I think it was highly successful.
Well, I'll have my photos up later on in the week of the event that I took. Rich, explain something to me, being on base, that's kind of confusing to me. So it's the L.A. Long Beach sector, but there's a couple different organizations down there. I saw a lifeguard boat. I think I saw a Homeland Security. I'm seeing whole different group. And what confuses me is we've got the sector, we've got base commander. Explain a little bit what goes on at the base, which, by the way, also touch upon that they redid the docks to make room for some new cutters.
Yes, what I could summarize to answer your question is that, yes, there's many, I call them layers, we have that are home to Terminal Island there at Coast Guard Base, because we have the station, and I pretty much I try to break it down to people like this, that we have the station LA Long Beach, which is a part of the base that runs the small boats, and so we have them do the patrols and inspections. Then we have Base LA Long Beach, which is home to our cutters, the 4 cutters we have there, and we also have a buoy tender, the George Cobb. And as the good Colonel mentioned, the Robert Ward is one of those cutters. So the base is home to the cutters and facilitates and runs the cutters. And then the sector is kind of what is the all-encompassing layer, or above those layers, just in a sense that they manage the AOR again. So I believe if I know the AOR of our area, we go from the very north of Santa Barbara to as far south as San Diego, and of course we have some waters to the west, and then that's our AOR right there. So I hope that explains a little bit in a nutshell about the base. We did expand the dock, as you mentioned, so we are going to be receiving 2 of the newest class of cutters. They're the offshore security cutters, and they will be there at Base LA Long Beach as well. And but then also, as you mentioned, as you walked around base and noticed that there's some other boats that are there in the dock. Well, that's also because Coast Guard Base LA Long Beach, or that whole entire installation, as small as it is actually home to a lot of other offices and components within the Coast Guard and with our service partners. So yes, the LA County lifeguards are there. They have a facility there, a small facility there. And as you saw, the Customs and Border Protection, they have a boat there. If they need to get underway, I should say it's a small fast boat. And so we are host to a lot of our partners and our other agencies as well, and just being one team and with one team, one fight.
Wow, that is exciting, and it's a wonderful base, and I really enjoy going down there. I noticed now the Terrell Horn, and I went to that dedication. He had lost his life protecting us. He was rammed. I'm not sure if it was a drug intervention or if it was human trafficking. But is that a common practice where they name the cutters after coasties that lost their lives in the line of duty? Is that a custom, or is that a certain class of ships?
As far as I know, it's for the FRCs. Yes, they are named after very renowned coasties, but they have fallen in the line of duty. Yes.
Wow, that's quite an honor, and I was honored to be there and to meet the family. And I actually knew him. He was on the Halibut, the 87-foot class that's based out of Marina Del Rey. The Blackfins up in Santa Barbara. I've seen that. It really, it's exciting to know that the Coast Guard really, cherishes people that serve, and I didn't know anything about the reserve. People confuse the auxiliarist, which is a volunteer. We're volunteers. We have positions, not rank. And a lot of people think that we're reservists. We always, when we do public service or we're out there, we have to explain to people that we're not the reservist, and we try to get people to join up. So, Tom, I got a question for you. So, you've been in the military for a while, from Vietnam era, and very active with vets. The Coast Guard, I learned this at one of the talks from the guest that was at the Armed Service Parade, that the Coast Guard is 42% women. So how have you seen the changes I don't think women wanted to be in the military way back when. And of course, in World War II, you see a lot of the tremendous things that women did to serve. But now the Coast Guard active duty, 42% women. So tell me the changes that you've seen. I guess we're more technological as well. But have you noticed the transition, or am I wrong? Were women trying to get in the military back in the day when you started?
Well, there were some statutory limitations on women participating in the military, especially in combat. But starting in the 70s, after the draft and opening up the military, women were encouraged to join. In 1976, the first cadet was approved at West Point, and women provide a great deal of leadership and technical support to all branches of the service. Some of the best officers I've met, best pilots, have been female. Matter of fact, as we speak, all the base commanders in Southern California, the Joint Forces Training Base, the base at San Pedro, Los Angeles Air Force Base, Seal Beach Naval Weapons Station, and the Los Angeles District of the U.S. Coast Corps of Engineers are all commanded by women,
okay.
And they're all doing a great job. So the Master Chief at San Pedro is female, and the senior enlisted leader at LA Air Force Base is a female Chief Master Sergeant. So a lot of opportunities, equal opportunities in the military, in the Coast Guard. It's an opportunity to learn, to serve. You don't have to make a career out of it, but I wasn't going to make a career out of it, but it turned out I liked what I was doing. I had good commanders, worked with good soldiers, had good assignments. So next thing you know, I'm retiring out after 40 years of total active duty and National Guard service. But it's a great opportunity for everybody. Speaking of recruiting, ESGR is always looking for volunteers. I'm technically a volunteer, and if any of your listeners are interested in becoming a volunteer, supporting citizen soldiers, working with employers, getting opportunities to support activities like we did on Boss Lift, have them go to the website, which is www.esgr.mil. We made this pitch today, and I think we might have picked up two people that were interested in becoming volunteers. There's training involved, and it's another way of serving to support the armed forces.
Wow, that is great. And Tom, you're going to have to give me a link so I can put it up on the website. Our website is doing real well. People are looking at it and looking at past shows and talking about time flying. We are out of time. We have just scratched the surface, and we just got started, and we're already out of time. So I want to thank both of you, Tom and Rich, for coming out and talking about the reserve and about the Coast Guard, about volunteering in the military. And definitely send me a couple links. My photos of the event will be up on the Boating Hour with Captain Rick's site. So that is fantastic, and I really appreciate you guys coming out and joining me on the Boating Hour.
Well, thank you for having me.
That's wonderful.
Thank you very much. It's been a privilege, and nice seeing you today. And we'll do this again and keep you posted on the next event that that ESGR does.
Absolutely do that, because it really is exciting. I'm glad to talk about it. Well, if you're a first-time firearms owner, speaking about women, has been the largest group of women in the last couple of years that have bought firearms for self-protection, but also for competition and training and going to the range. But if you're a first-time firearms owner or would like to be and want to learn the safety protocols, get out to the NRA-sponsored Women on Target. It's an instructional shooting clinic with a focus on safety, and that is NRA, the West Side Members Council of the NRA, the Women on Target, coming up in August. And Captain Rick likes to talk about safety, and we want to promote women that are getting into the firearms, whether it's for self-defense, or competition. So our gold medal winners at the Olympics, wonderful group of people. So that's all the time we have for you today, and I hope you enjoyed our show. As always, we're so very fortunate to have such wonderful and exciting guests. Don't forget to visit us on the web at theboatinghour.com, now on Instagram, Facebook, and Rumble, The Boating Hour with Captain Rick. Keep your emails coming. This is Captain Rick saying ahoy and fair winds to all.